The church doors never opened for you. They closed, soft, firm, final. You stood at the altar in a dress borrowed from a dead cousin, seams let out with trembling hands, lace catching the wind like it didn't want to stay stitched to you. The pew sat quiet. A few heads turned. Most didn't, because they already knew he wasn't coming. Or worse, he was watching, from somewhere behind a pane of glass. A saloon, a porch, a window where men wagered names like coins and brides like horses. Your name is still yours. But that morning it became a punchline. The preacher wouldn't meet your eyes, said something soft about delay, about uncertainty, about these things happen. You stood there a full 5 minutes after he stepped away. You didn't move, because if you moved, you'd be agreeing you weren't worth staying for. Outside, the street breathed like nothing sacred had just shattered. Dust skittered past your boots. A boy laughed too loud. A woman dropped a bag of apples. And you? You stepped down, slow, shoes catching on the warped floorboard. Not weeping, not fainting, just hollowing from the chest out, like a fire that doesn't smoke, but burns anyway. That's when she stepped forward. The widow, tall, wrapped in a shawl the color of gunmetal, eyes dark as tanned molasses and just as heavy. She didn't ask if you needed help. She just offered her arm. You didn't take it, not at first. But she waited, like someone used to waiting, like someone who knew shame has weight, and women shouldn't have to carry it alone. "Come," she said. "You're not done yet." Not gentle, not cruel, just true. You nodded and followed her through the alley behind the church, through the courtyard behind the dressmakers, through the back entrance of her home, where fire already crackled in a pot-bellied stove. You sat, you shivered, you folded your hands like prayer might still do something. And the widow, she poured you tea in a cracked china cup and said, "He wasn't the first to walk away." Then added softer, "But you might be the first who fights back." The cup warmed your hands before your heart, but it held. And so did you. If stories like this help you breathe easier, you know where to find more. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let the story come to you. She doesn't ask what happened. She knows the ache of a name not spoken, of footsteps that turn down the wrong street just when they should be arriving at your side. She knows what it means to be looked at like a ledger mistake, like a cow bid too high, like a dress returned. So she doesn't prod. She just hands you a blanket that smells like wood smoke and something almost sweet, lavender maybe, or dried lilac, and sets the kettle back on the stove. Her house isn't large, but it's firm, like she built it with her own jawbone. The wallpaper peels in corners, the floor creaks near the hearth, and above the fireplace hangs a portrait, not of a husband, but of a younger version of herself. Hair loose, eyes bright, shoulders set, like she already knew how the world works. You glance at it. She notices, says, "That was before Dodge." You nod, then ask, "Why stay?" She doesn't answer, not with words. Just sets down a tin of salve, a threadbare nightgown, and a knife that's been sharpened so many times it gleams even without light. That night, you dream of horses bolting, not away from you, but towards something. You wake with your hands clenched, the blanket kicked to the floor. The widow stands by the stove already, apron tied, sleeves rolled. She doesn't greet you, just says, "Eat." So you do. After breakfast, she takes you out back, not to air laundry or tend chickens, to teach you how to split wood. Not with force, she says, with angle. The first few swings blister your hands. By the fourth you find rhythm. By the sixth you find silence, not emptiness. A hush, the kind that fills instead of empties. She watches, not to correct, to witness. And when your arms sag and your palms bleed a little, she takes the axe, sets it down, and says, "Next time, gloves," then walks back inside, leaving you, not bruised, not broken, but seen. You wrap your hands, you tuck the split wood beside the door, and you whisper something under your breath. You're not sure what, only that it's the first word you've spoken in a full day that didn't feel like apology. That night over soup and cornbread, she tells you the names of every girl who ever stepped through her kitchen with a ruined dress and an unanswered question. Some left married, she says. Some left west. Some didn't leave. You ask why she keeps helping. She looks at the fire, then says, "Because no one helped me the first time," then adds, softer, "or the second." You hold your spoon still. Say nothing, because some stories don't need to be passed with full paragraphs. Some just need to be shared in a room that stays warm. And tonight, you're warm. The cup comes back each morning, same one. Crack along the rim sealed in resin, stained faintly by years of coffee and bitterroot. You never ask why she doesn't change it. You suspect she never will, not out of sentiment, but out of stubbornness, the kind that says, even broken things can still hold warmth. On the third morning she pours coffee into it without a word. You drink, careful not to tip toward the chip, and she hands you an envelope, not sealed, not crisp, edges singed. You recognize the handwriting on the front. It's yours. You don't remember writing it, but the words are familiar. Mrs. Helen J. Whitley, 415, Trailside Ave, Dodge City. Your own return address scratched below in ink, darker than anything you own. You open it. Inside? A page and a half, folded neatly. The words are deliberate, heavy. You read, "By the time this reaches you, I'll be gone from the church. Don't come looking. Don't send letters. I chose this." You didn't write that, but the strokes match your hand. You scan it again, feel your skin go cold. Then she speaks. "I found it in my stove," she says, voice flat, "wrapped around kindling." You stare at her. She sips from her own cup, shrugs. "Someone didn't want you to know it never got mailed." Your breath halts. You whisper, "Why would he?" But you stop, because now you see it. If you had believed this letter, you'd have vanished. No witnesses, no public shame, just silence, just memory scrubbed clean by a fake decision. You lay the paper on the table. The widow doesn't touch it, doesn't even look, just says, "People don't need matches when they carry fire in their pockets." You nod, then ask, "Did he leave town?" She smiles, one side only, "No." And that one word cuts deeper than the letter ever could. You press your thumb against the signature, the last line, "I wish you the best. Please don't cry." You laugh, sharp, hollow, because you didn't, not then, not yet. But now the tears sting like vinegar in your chest, and still you hold them back. Because you're not broken, you're chipped, and like the cup, you still hold. You fold the letter back into its envelope, set it beside your plate, and whisper, "Not any more." She raises her cup, clinks yours gently, then says, "Good, because Dodge ain't done with you yet." You step outside for the first time since the wedding that wasn't. Sunlight hits you square, not gentle, not forgiving, just bright. And with it, the sound, boots on boardwalks, the clink of spurs, a sharp whistle from a boy too young to know better. You walk straight, shoulders stiff, face unreadable. The widow walks beside you, hat low, voice low. Head high, she says. They feed unflinching. You don't flinch. Main Street spreads like a wound half-stitched. On your left, the general store. On your right, the tailor's shop with your half-fitted bodice still hanging in the window. Someone whistles again. You keep walking. A dog barks. Someone coughs. The gossip is louder than the wind. She's the one. Left her at the altar. Mail order mistake. You hear them all. Let each word scrape, but not cut. Not anymore. You and the widow stop at the dressmaker's. Inside, the same girl who pinned your hem days ago stares too long before looking down. You ask for your other clothes. She hesitates, then fetches them. You change in silence. Wool skirt, sturdy boots, the blouse with the tiny mended tear at the cuff. You leave the dress behind, let it hang, let it rot. Back on the street, someone steps into your path. A man, not him, but the type. Felt hat too clean, eyes too fast. Thought you left town, he says. You meet his eyes, say nothing. The widow steps forward, says, "She don't answer to boys in borrowed boots." He steps aside. You walk on. At the grocer's, you pick potatoes. Bread, a tin of condensed milk. Someone knocks over a barrel behind you, and you spin too fast. Old fear. Still there, still twitching in your bones, but you don't run. You choose to stay. Back home, the widow sets the food down, says, "First time's the worst." You nod. You held. She pauses, then adds, "Tomorrow, we'll go further." That night you light the stove. Your hands don't shake. You cook with rhythm, not retreat. And when the kettle whistles, you pour the water slow, like you own the sound. Later, you write a letter. To no one, to everyone. You don't sign it. You burn it in the hearth. The flame eats the page fast, but the words stay. Inside, sharp, yours. There's a drawer she never locks. Carved pine, worn brass handle, smells faintly of cedar and smoke. You pass it a dozen times before asking, "What's in there?" She looks up from her stitching. Names. You blink. She sets the hoop down. Things they left behind, things they couldn't carry, things no one ever came back for. That night when the house is still and the wind paces just beyond the shutters, you open it. Inside, a dried bouquet tied with wire. A silver locket, no photo. A shoe, small, cracked, child size. A button torn from something dark. A corset hook bent backwards. A bullet casing. And at the very bottom, a folded card that reads, "Clara, 1879. You touch it like it might vanish. She steps beside you then. No sound, just presence. They tried to call her unfit, she says. Clara? The widow nods. She bled in the courthouse and still stood to testify. You swallow hard. Ask what happened. She disappeared the next week. You close the drawer, softly, as if waking someone. The next morning, the widow hands you a broom. Parlor first, she says. You sweep dust older than your name from under the rug, beneath the sideboard, into the corners. Behind the lace curtain, sunlight fractures. You notice the bookshelf, not large, but deliberate. Titles worn soft, letters from the Kansas frontier, treatises on land rights, a woman's field guide to survival. You pull one down. A paper flutters from between the pages. A name, Annabelle T. You look at the widow. She says, she wrote most of that. You read it in silence. An essay about being counted, not loved, not owned, just counted. As a name, not a shame. You ask if she kept records of everyone who came. She nods. Why? In case they need proof someday. You whisper, I might. She meets your eyes. You will. After supper, you write your name on a folded card. First name only, like the others. You place it beside Clara's. Not beneath, not behind, beside. Because you're not a footnote, you're a chapter still being written. That night, before bed, she lights a candle in the window. You ask why. She answers, for the ones still walking toward a door they haven't found yet. You stand beside her and watch the light hold. You don't mean to pass the pawn shop, but you do. 3 storefronts beyond the post office, just where the road tilts. The window is dusty. Wavy glass makes every object shimmer like they're floating behind water. You stop. Because in the center, tucked beneath a brass pocket watch and a chipped ceramic horse, is a ring. Gold. Small. Inlaid with 3 garnets. Your breath catches. Because it's his mother's. He'd shown it to you once, not to offer, to threaten. Don't lose your chances, he said, fingers brushing it. It's not mine to give twice. You step inside. The bell jingles. The shop smells of tin, rust, and leather, worn soft by forgotten hands. The man behind the counter doesn't look up. You ask to see the ring. He shrugs. Cash or trade? Just looking. He eyes you now, says nothing. You lift the ring, try it on. It fits, too perfectly, like it was measured in secrets, not inches. You ask when it came in. He flips a ledger. 3 days before the wedding. You nod. Who brought it? He snorts. Like they sign receipts in blood. You smile, just once, then leave, without the ring. Because it's not yours, not because he took it, but because he never meant to give it. Back at the house, you tell the widow. She listens, doesn't blink, then walks to her drawer, pulls something small wrapped in muslin, unfolds it, a silver ring, simple, dull shine. No story, she says, only promise. You lift it, try it on. It fits too, but differently. This one doesn't cling, it rests, like it's waiting for your hands to do something real. That night, you wrap the gold ring in a square of paper. You don't know why. Then, place it in the drawer of names. You label it unworn, not unwanted, not unloved, just what it was. A symbol meant to silence. Not speak. You boil water, you sew a patch, you hum while the fire snaps, and for the first time in days, you don't feel like a ring missing a finger. You feel like a flame that wasn't meant to stay small. The envelope is tucked between the sugar jar and the flour sack. You don't see it until you reach for the scoop. Cream paper, red wax seal cracked, folded twice. The handwriting, unmistakable. His. You know the curl of the R, the impatient loop of the S. But the name on the front isn't yours. Margaret Withers. You don't move, don't breathe. Just open, slow. Inside, Dearest M. The arrangements are made. She will be gone by Thursday. I need only wait until the noise dies down. The dress will be returned. I've ensured the widow will take her in. Then we'll be free. You always said I'd be too soft. You were wrong, J. You read it twice, 3 times. By the 4th, your hands shake, not from sorrow, from clarity. He didn't just leave you. He placed you, filed you away, arranged your downfall like a chessboard, while whispering new promises into someone else's mouth. The widow finds you at the table. The letter laid bare. She doesn't ask how you found it, doesn't touch the paper, just says, "He used my name." You nod. "He knew I'd shelter you," she adds. You blink. Then whisper, "I was never the secret. I was the cover." Outside the wind rises. The kitchen windows rattle. Inside you sit straight. You say, "He didn't just walk away. He plotted." The widow doesn't speak for a long time. Then, "We burn it?" You shake your head. "No, we show it." You take the letter, fold it gently, slide it into a stitched pouch lined in muslin. You don't hide it. You place it in the drawer beside the other names, and you write a card, not yours, his, just the first letter. A monogram, so when someone looks later, they'll see it. J. Filed not under glory, but evidence. The widow asks, "Do you want him gone?" You stare at the fire. "No," you say, "I want him known." The flame crackles louder. Your pulse matches it. You feel something settle in your chest, not peace, but direction. And it points straight to the place where secrets fester, to the steps of the courthouse, to the heart of Dodge, to justice, not revenge, justice. And now, you're not just the girl who was left, you're the woman who knows where he buried the truth, and you're ready to unearth it. It's just after sundown when she tells you. No one should go unnamed, not even in memory. You look up from your stitching. She's in the parlor pulling long-stored tapers from a drawer and setting them along the windowsill, one by one. 12 candles, all different lengths, all slightly crooked, wax-chipped, or bowed. You ask, "What is this?" She answers, "Their night." You blink. The women who were never buried, never married, never remembered. She lights the first one, a tall, pale blue taper with a split down one side. This is for Clara. You watch the flame catch. She lights the second. For Miriam, then a third. For the one who never gave a name. You hold your breath. The room fills with warm flicker, the kind of light that doesn't demand. It honors. She hands you a match, waits. You stare at the 9th candle, small, short, burned at both ends before. "This one's mine," she says, then gestures to the 10th. You take the match, strike it, say nothing, touch the flame to wick, and in your mind, you whisper the name you haven't said aloud since the altar, your own. 11 candles glow. The room smells of wax and smoke and something quieter, like the inside of an old cedar chest. You ask about the last candle. She doesn't answer. Just sets a book beside it, leather-bound, thin. You open it. Inside names, each one handwritten, no titles, no husbands. Just names, dates, sometimes a short line beneath. You find one with just 3 words, "She got away." You add yours at the bottom of a blank page, and beneath it, a sentence. "She knew before they burned her." You place the book beside the last candle. Unlit. The widow nods. It waits. You don't ask for whom. You already know. Somewhere, another girl is gathering the first whisper of her undoing. And when she arrives, she'll find Flame waiting. The widow pulls a shawl tight, sits across from you. No tears, just witness, the kind that doesn't fade with light. You both sit there in the hush of flickering names. And in that warmth, you don't feel undone. You feel woven, threaded back into a lineage too often left footnoted. Outside, the town slumbers, but inside, 12 flames hold vigil, and one woman finally breathes in her own name without flinching. You're folding linens when she says it, out of nowhere. her voice calm but heavy enough to stop your hands mid-crease. "My husband didn't die on a battlefield." You glance up. She's standing by the window, eyes somewhere past the horizon. He disappeared in the middle of his testimony. You set the linen down, wait. She keeps talking, eyes still fixed on something far beyond the edge of town. "There was a case, a banker, land titles forged, 6 families pushed out. We had proof." You nod once. She doesn't see it. She's too deep in it now. He stood before the judge, held the ledgers in his hands, read names, dates, everything tied together. A pause, long, and the next morning he was gone. She turns, meets your eyes. No body, no note, no justice. You say nothing, just feel the weight of it fill the room, like damp smoke. She walks to the drawer, pulls a letter, unfolds it, faded ink. "Sheriff ruled it an accident, said he probably fell in the river." You whisper, "But you knew better." She nods. "I know better." The letter isn't long, but the final line is burned into the edge of the paper, scorched just enough to blur one word. You can still read the rest. "Should have stayed silent." You ask why she stayed. She smiles, thin, sharp. "Because this house holds truth." You whisper, "But you don't go to court anymore." She shakes her head. "I stopped speaking their language." You sit beside her. Say, "Teach me yours." That night she does. Not with books, not with ink, but with firelight and memory. She lays out case notes, witness names, ledger rubbings, hand-copied statements. She teaches you where signatures vanish, where land swaps feel too clean, where records are too perfect. You learn quickly, because when pain has a pattern, it becomes instinct. And this town, it runs on the assumption women forget. But you won't. Not now. Not with her. She presses a folded map into your hands. "Every name marked," she says. You unfold it, each dot a story, each circle a silence. But now they burn bright. Because she didn't vanish with her husband's absence. She built a sanctuary out of it. And you're ready to defend it. You sit at the same altar where the betrayal began. But tonight, there's no preacher, no flowers, no dress, only you, the widow, a battered writing desk dragged from the parlor, and a fire crackling in the hearth behind you like a heart that finally beat on its own terms. You bring nothing fancy, just a tin of ink, a pen sharpened to its final edge, and a folded piece of cotton paper, creased, soft at the edges, like it's already weathered the worst. She doesn't speak, just nods for you to begin. You place the blank page on the desk, hold the pen for a moment, and then, with steady breath, begin. Not a name, not to whom it may concern. You start with, "I stood where you left me, and I did not fall." You write slowly, line by line, ink soaking in like confession. You do not write for him, you write for you. For the girl who stood still so long, the church shadows forgot she could move. For the woman who now holds proof and direction, you write, "My worth is not measured in what you gave, but in what you couldn't take." The widow brings you tea halfway through. You pause, sip, then write, "I was the fire you tried to smother with silence." You don't need to reread it. You know the words now. They live in your fingers. You sign it only once, your full name, and then a second line beneath it, "Free." You stand, walk to the fireplace. The widow holds out a tray. You place the paper on it, slide it into the flame, watch it curl, blacken, then lift in ash. You do not weep. You do not blink. You exhale. Because this time, the vows belong to you. The widow presses a locket into your palm. Not silver, not gold, just wood, carved, smoothed by thumbprints over time. Inside, no photo, just a square of cloth with a single embroidered word, proof. You close it, hang it around your neck. It's not jewelry, it's armor. You ask her what comes next. She says, now you walk in your own story, and you realize you've been waiting for someone to walk in and save you. But no one's coming. You came, you stayed, and now you move. Outside the night has settled, not heavy, not cruel, just quiet. The kind of silence that makes space for a voice, for your name, for what you'll speak next, when you're ready. And when you speak, Dodge City will listen. The church bell tolls once, then twice. You're tying your apron when the widow peeks through the front curtain. She doesn't speak, just lifts her chin toward the street. You follow her gaze. And there he is, riding in like he never left. Horse too polished, boots too new. And beside him, on the wagon bench, a woman dressed in satin blue, not you. Someone softer, or richer, or better groomed for a life he thinks he deserves. You don't flinch, not this time. Instead, you watch him step down, offer his arm with exaggerated grace. He's performing, like he always was. But now you see it, the gap between what he promised and who he is. He walks her past the milliner's, the saloon, the post office. People look. Some smile, some look confused, some whisper. He smiles back. Like scandal never tasted so sweet. You step outside, not to follow, to be seen. Apron on, hair up, eyes clear. The widow stands beside you, both of you silent, rooted. He notices. Of course he does. His gaze flicks your way, lingers. He hesitates mid-step, then pretends not to. But the girl with him? She notices too, frowns, whispers. His reply is curt. They walk faster, but not fast enough to erase the stain of recognition. The sheriff tips his hat at you. You nod back. Because today, you're not a secret, you're a witness. By noon, the story's changed hands 3 times. First, he returned with a bride. Second, he never mentioned you. Third, you were the one who left him. You don't correct any of it. You don't need to, because the truth isn't a tale anymore. It's a document, filed, sealed, dated. And sitting in the widow's chest, wrapped in muslin, beside a letter he never meant you to read. You walk to the well that evening, draw water. Your hands are steady. A neighbor asks, "Did you see?" You say, "I did," then turn. Leave it there, because your story doesn't end with his return. It begins with your decision to stay visible. That night you pass the pawn shop again. The ring's gone, replaced by something smaller, a brooch in the shape of a flame. You don't buy it, but you smile. Because maybe Dodge City remembers, and maybe it burns a little brighter now, with truth. She finds you in the cellar, hands dusted with flour, apron streaked with salt. You're shelling dried beans, rhythm slow and sure. When she asks, "You still have the letter?" You nod. "It's time," she says. Not a question, a statement. Like she's already seen the next 5 steps and knows exactly how you'll walk them. You wipe your hands, retrieve the pouch from beneath the floorboard behind the hearth. Inside, the folded letter, his handwriting unmistakable. The words that tried to erase you by never naming you at all. You don't flinch. You smooth the creases, tuck it into your coat. The widow places a lantern on the table, heavy, iron-framed, the kind that doesn't flicker in the wind. Then she places something else beside it, a matchbox and a tiny tin box with a seal. You open it. Ash, black, fine, still faintly warm. "What is this?" you ask. She looks at the lantern. "The oath they broke last year." You don't need to ask whose, you just nod. Dodge City's courthouse isn't grand. It leans a little to the left, paint flaked, steps uneven, but the flag still flies, the bell still rings. And on the wall by the door, a notice board filled with marriage licenses, land claims, grain prices. You pin your note right between them, one square of paper, one name, one accusation, 3 sentences, no signature, just, "I was promised silence. I returned with proof. What will you do now?" The lantern swings from your hand, not heavy, not light, just ready. You hang it beneath the porch awning, strike the match, light it, let the flame rise, not to destroy, to illuminate. The window catches the glow. Voices murmur inside. Curtains shift. And you wait. You don't speak. You don't explain. You just burn, not in rage, in presence. The widow stands beside you, arms crossed, no hat, no smile, no sermon, just witness. One woman to another, one page to another. By nightfall, a boy delivers a folded note from the judge. He wants a meeting, not in court, at your place. You read it twice, then fold it. The widow says nothing. You set it on the mantel. Let it sit. Because you don't chase justice anymore. You invite it, and it shows up. The morning fog rolls in thick, muffling hooves, blurring edges. You walk alone, no lantern, no cloak, just the pouch in your hand, small and sure, and your boots pressing steady prints into the damp earth. The courthouse door is shut. You knock once, no answer. You don't wait. Because this isn't a petition, it's a delivery. You slide the pouch through the letter slot, hear it drop on the polished floor inside. A soft thud, then silence. You imagine him reading the note, the original letter, and your new one, for every woman who wasn't believed, for every vow buried in silence, for every name not listed in the book. We remember. No signature, just a pressed flower, lavender, old, dried, still fragrant, because some memories insist on being noticed. You turn and leave, past the general store without looking in, past the alley where he once whispered so close you could feel the lie on your cheek, past the post office, where you almost mailed a goodbye. Now, there's nothing left to send, because the story stays here, right where it was interrupted. Back at the house, the widow is brushing dust from a stack of ledgers. You add yours, set the pouch on top. She raises one brow. You nod. She places a ribbon around them all. Says nothing. Doesn't need to, because the bundle speaks louder than the courtroom ever did. That afternoon, a boy drops off a second letter, stamped official. The widow reads it aloud, but only once. You don't need to hear it again, because all it says is, "You will be left in peace. He will not return. Consider this closed." You burn it, not out of anger, out of certainty, because your justice already happened. Not with paper, but with presence, with witness, with the fire lit when others would have walked away. That night the drawer gets a new card, just 3 words, "Sh." She stayed standing. You don't cry, you don't need to. You feel something deeper settle in your chest, like a name finally spoken, like truth, folded once, then placed where no one can take it again. He returns 2 days later, but not with the same stride, not with the same grin, no horse, no girl, No parade, just boots too quiet and a hat pulled low. You're sweeping the porch when you see him. He pauses across the street, stares, but doesn't approach. Not yet. Because the air has shifted, and he feels it, the widow steps out behind you, folds her arms. "You ready?" she asks. You nod, but you don't move, not toward him, because he's the one who has to walk. It takes him 5 minutes, one step at a time, like the street's grown longer, like the dust itself judges each footfall. He reaches the bottom of your steps, opens his mouth, then closes it. You tilt your head. Wait. He swallows, looks past you, to the widow, then back at you. "I didn't think you'd stay," he says. You answer with silence. Let it stretch. Let it burn. Because what could you say? That you were never his to abandon? That his plan folded faster than his promise? That the truth walks taller than guilt? Finally you speak. 3 words. "Is she safe?" He blinks. "What?" "The other woman. The one you traded me for." His jaw works. "She left." You nod. Then step forward, just enough to whisper, "Some of us don't." His face crumples, not in grief, in recognition. Because now he sees you, not as what he lost, but what he never earned. He reaches into his coat, pulls something out, the ring, the garnet one, holds it in his palm, then offers it. You don't take it. Instead you lean close and say, "You can bury it where you buried the truth." Then turn your back. He stands there for a beat, then walks away, slower, smaller, gone, not in body but in hold, because he doesn't own the ending anymore. That night, the widow brings out a bottle she's been saving, pours 2 glasses. "To those who didn't flinch," she says. You clink the rim, drink. The room is quiet, but not empty, because you're here, still, seen, standing. You open it one last time, the drawer in the corner of the widow's parlor. Its smell now familiar, cedar, ash, and something like old ink. Inside, your card, your line. She stayed standing. Beside it, the others. She got away. They never found her. She chose silence, not shame. And now, dozens more, each one written by a hand that once trembled, each one folded by a voice that now speaks. You slide your fingers across the edges, not to linger, to thank. The house creaks with the morning. You can hear the town shifting to life beyond the shutters. A baby cries, boots scrape boardwalks, hinges squeak open, and in the hearth, only embers now. But they're enough. You close the drawer, not gently, not violently, just fully. Like sealing something that no longer requires protection, only memory. The widow sits in the rocker by the fire. She doesn't look at you, but she knows. It's time? You nod. I don't know where yet, you admit. She lifts her tea, sips, says, "Anywhere you go, take the story." You smile. I am the story. She smiles too. But doesn't speak again, because some truths only echo when left unspoken. You pack lightly, not in fear, in freedom. 1 shawl, 1 ring, not his, 1 journal, blank, waiting. You don't write the end. You don't have to, because the drawer is still there, the window still open, the candle still waiting. You step outside. Dodge doesn't stare this time. It nods. Shops open. Kids chase chickens. Someone waves. You wave back. Not as the girl from the church steps, not as the silence, but as you, a woman who walked through fire and left the smoke behind. You pass the courthouse, the note's gone, but its shadow still clings to the board, a space where silence once was. And now, Now it breathes. At the edge of town, the path splits. One leads to the rail, one to the hills. You take neither. You walk the grass, the untread. Because no one's cleared this route yet, so you will. Step by soft step. By dusk the wind picks up. It carries scent, lavender maybe, or memory. You don't look back, you don't need to, because you're not unfinished. You're unfolding. And tonight? There is no vow to keep, only one to make, to the firelight, to the witness, to the voice that stayed soft and still, managed to roar.